everyone. How are you all doing? Trust you all are doing well and getting ready for Christmas. That is anyone who celebrates Christmas. So, let me wish you a Merry Christmas in advance in case I don't post before Christmas again. So, anyhow, so I've got to the cutting, finally got to the point where I'm going to cut out the walkaway dress, which is the Batarik walkaway dress. That's the Batarik 4790. And I will divide the process of making this garment into three: the cutting, the sewing, and the presentation of the garment, to avoid it, dragging on and on. So anyhow, so today is the first stage. So I'm going to be cutting out view B of this pattern, and so I have already got my fabric ready, and I will be talking about the fabrics. I wouldn't show the notions today. I will show the notions when I'm going to sew the garment, but today it's about the fabric. So let's go to the cutting table. So this pattern is in an 8, 10, 12, and 14. So I've had to do some extensions on the pattern, and some people I've seen who use PDFs, but in my own case, since I already have the pattern, I just have done some amendments to the pattern to suit my size. And then at some point it was as if I was reinventing the wheel, I can tell you that, because the seam allowances between the different sizes are not even. Half an inch, 3/8 of an inch, quarter of an inch. It's all over the place. Anyhow, so well, I've done the best that I can. So the fabrics that are required for this, to make this dress, I will just give a few. You could use lightweight broadcloth, you could use lightweight linen, and you could use taffeta. And when I was making the dress 5 years ago for my daughter, I used this fabric, which is okay, so I used this fabric. It's more or less like a double georgette kind of thing, and it gave a bit of drape and a good fall. But this time I am going to be using, as you can already see laid out on the table, I'm going to be using 100% Dutch wax, 100% cotton Dutch wax, and other notions. And then, okay, so the yardage for the size, the biggest size, which is a size 22, you would need 5 yards if you are using a fabric that is by 45, and you would need 4 and 3/8 yards if you are using a fabric that is by 60. Notions, you need 3 packets of, although I got 4, quite frankly, because I've extended the pattern a bit, but anyhow, so you need 3 packets of half an inch double fold bias binding. You need 3, that is for view B, as I've said, 3/8 of an inch snaps. They haven't mentioned how many. And then 1 7/8 button and 3 5/8 of an inch buttons. Like I said, I'm not going to show the notions today. I will do that on the next video. And for this pattern, the good thing about it is that it doesn't come, you don't have to get too many notions, no zips, no interfacings or anything like that. The only thing is, I don't know about how it's gonna, what the finished item is gonna look like, because the last time I did it, I really had a lot of problems with fitting. So as I've mentioned, I'm using this cotton fabric, and I've already divided them into parts, into 3 parts, because they come in 6-yard packs, I should say. And I always, in a video previously, I talked about the importance of pre-washing garments, especially 100% cottons, to wash them before sewing them, because I have had personal experiences where I didn't wash the fabrics, and then before sewing, and then when I eventually washed them, they completely shrunk, and they shrunk real bad. So I always advise that if possible, wash garments or fabrics that can be washed. So I've already, and in order to make it easier for me, I divide, because this comes in a 6 pack. It's 6 complete yards. So in order to make it manageable, I usually divide it into 2-yard pieces. So that's what I've done. So the first, I've already laid out. I followed the layout of the layout of the pattern, and I've placed the pattern on the fabric already, and pinned down some of it. And I will, so what is going to happen is that I will fold this up and then put the other piece on there. This comes, it's supposed to be on the fold. This is the front, and the front and the back, the upper back, because there are 3 pieces to this pattern. So the front and the upper back will be cut on this long piece. So, and then of course it's going to be cut on the fold. So I've already folded to have the self edges. Let me see what I'm talking about. The self edges I've, folded to one side, so I can get the fold on this side. So I've placed this one, the front on the fabric already, and I will be pinning it down. So some of my cutting tools I've got ready are my scissors, of course. Then I've got, usually, like, I don't know if you like keeping your empty biscuit tins. So in here I've got my carbon paper for tracing, because I'm going to have to trace out the darts. I've done some of it, but I've got some other tracing of the darts to transfer actually the darts and other markings onto the fabric. So I've got my tracing paper and tracing wheel ready. Then in here, inside this cute lovely box, just in case I need them, are my wonder clips, of which you can never have enough of, and that's how it came in this lovely box. So I really like it. Then I've got my pins, with some extra marking tools and stuff like that. And then I've got also here some pattern weights. I've only got 6 of these. I think they're really pretty. I will get some more later, but I just like the packaging, so I'm gonna be using some of that. The pattern, of course, and I will be, so this front is supposed to be placed pattern side down, and then the upper back is the pattern side, the right side up. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to continue pinning this, and then I will roll this up. If I were at home, I would have put it on the floor. If I couldn't, the fabric couldn't, or the table couldn't accommodate the fabric, I would have just laid it on the floor. But I'm not at home, so I am going to pin this, roll it up, and then pin the other bit, the upper back. So yeah, so a little bit before I start that, about the fabric that I chose. I chose this fabric because if you look at this design, the focal point of it is on the waistline, and I've said Let me turn the camera to me. So if you can see, I do not like anything around my waist area. I would prefer it if it's like empire seam level. Anything around the waistline, But so this pattern is, the focal point is around the waistline. So I chose this fabric. Let me get the other piece. So I chose this fabric. One of the reasons is because I feel that it would camouflage any figure variations that I don't want to make prominent, and also it would probably give me an illusion of height instead of width, I think, because the fabric is quite, the pattern on it is quite it's busy, and it goes vertical as well as horizontal, which will confuse the eye a bit. So I think this is appropriate for me, I think. Another reason is that it's Dutch wax, and it also brings back lots of nostalgic memories, because I was born in the UK, but when my parents came to study, but we went back to Ghana. While I was growing up, these Dutch wax fabrics were all the rage. I mean, you were a lady, was valued, or was the ladies who had lots of Dutch wax prints were kind of, they were put in a class of their own, if you know what I mean. So because it was like a status symbol to own lots of Dutch wax prints. Unfortunately, the local textiles were kind of looked down upon. Fortunately, things have changed, and now I think every Friday in Ghana, people are encouraged to wear locally produced fabrics to boost that industry. So that has changed, and we now value our Ghana textile prints. But back in the day, that wasn't the case. So and it also reminds me of when I was growing up, all the happy times growing up, and so anytime I see prints like this, it brings back lots of memories. So I've bought quite a few Dutch wax prints just to, remind me of back in the day, and when, yeah, the more, I mean, if a lady turned up in tie and dye to, tie and dye was kind of local fabrics, if a lady turned out either in Ghana textile print or tie and dye to some kind of event, oh my God, they'll be looking at like you, like, oh my God, you should be wearing, that wax, and they gave them all names and all, so it was really interesting. But as I said, the good thing is that all that has changed. We now value what we produce, which is good. So I am now going to start pinning, and then I will be back. Hello once again. So I've cut out the upper back and the front pieces, and this is now the skirt, the lower half of it, and you can see how wide it is, and you need two of these pieces. So what I've gone and done is I've found the grain line, established the grain line, and hoping that it's as smooth as possible. I've had to extend, although you might not see it properly, but anyway, I'm not going to shift the fabric too much. I've added some extensions on the fabric as opposed to cutting out paper and sticking on, because I don't have time for that. Yeah, I hope it's gonna cut out properly, because it doesn't seem all that smooth. But yeah, so that's what I've done, and I am going to start cutting from which end. I'm going to start cutting from this edge here. You'll see me come around in a bit. I'm gonna do it like this. So I'm gonna start cutting from this edge here. So this is me cutting out the walkaway dress, the lower half of it. There are two pieces to the lower half. One to be cut on the pattern side up, and then the other one, the other bit to it, pattern side down. So this is the pattern side up. I'm cutting out first to keep shifting this. So this is going to be a question of luck. I don't know how this is going to turn out, because the last time was a nightmare getting the pattern to fit right. So like I mentioned in another video, I decided to walk away completely from this pattern, never ever to return to this. So I'm surprised I'm doing this, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm gonna stop this video now, and then I'm going to continue cutting, because might get a bit boring for you. So